What is up, guys? Soon to the Savage back, and we are here with NFL Week Can't Guard Mike predictions. It is NFL Week 13, and as always, if you just want to see me predict a certain matchup, timestamps will be in the description below. So make sure you click on that timestamp if you want to see that certain match, and also be sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel. Also subscribe to my podcast that I got. It's Copying Suitor Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to that. But anyways, Week 13, 15 matchups to get to. So without further ado, let's get this video started. So we are starting off with our very first matchup. There is no Thursday Night Football this week because, well, since Ravens and Steelers got pushed back to Wednesday afternoon football. Originally, Week 13 was supposed to start out with Cowboys and Ravens on Thursday night, but that got moved back to Tuesday night, and the Steelers game is on Monday night. But anyways, first matchup between my boys in the New Orleans Saints and the Atlanta Falcons. Starting off with the Saints against the Broncos, we were going up against a quarterbackless team, and yeah, it was pretty easy. Taysom Hill, not exactly his best performance, threw for 78 yards, no touchdowns and a pick. I go more in depth in this in my Saints recap, link in the description below. But the rushing game was on point. Latavius Murray was the number one guy with 124 yards and 2 touchdowns, followed by Alvin Kamara with 54 yards, and Taysom Hill, he had 44 yards and 2 touchdowns. But in terms of receiving, the leader was Michael Thomas, as he had 4 receptions for 50 yards. And yeah, that was actually pretty much it. Receiving was just nothing. The defense was strong, but like I said, quarterbackless team. I would expect our defense to completely smother them. But you know, we did well. And then the Falcons, here's your issue. Last couple of seasons, including this one, all that you get off to is a slow start, but then you gain momentum at the wrong time. Now you're ruining your draft position, which is not good. But you won against the Raiders, 43-6. Matt Ryan, he threw for 185 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. He was decent. Ivan Smith, he was your lead rusher with 65 yards, followed by Brian Hill with 55. In terms of receiving, Calvin Ridley, he was your leader. There was no Julio, but that didn't matter. He had 50 yards and a touchdown. Excuse me. Hayden Hurst, he followed up with 48 yards. Robert Gage had 34. And that was pretty much it. Your defense just absolutely smothered the Raiders. You forced 3 Derek Carr fumbles, 1 Josh Jacobs fumble, a pick 6. You guys just, the Raiders were so bad, they were playing Nathan Peterman. But anyways, Saints, we were favored to win this one by 3. And of course, I'm going to say that we win, complete the series sweep, and cover the spread. And now you have our very next match between the Detroit Lions and the Chicago Bears. Starting out with Detroit, even though you lost the Thanksgiving game, you were actually the biggest winner to come out of that. As, yeah, you lost, but Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn both got fired. Both happened way too late, but it might be what you need because, well, Matt Patricia was getting you nowhere. Anyways, Matt Stafford on Thanksgiving, he threw for 295 yards, 1 touchdown, and a pick. In terms of rushing, no DeAndre Swift, but Adrian Peterson, he ran for 55 yards and 2 touchdowns. Kerryon Johnson followed up with 46 yards. So that was a decent performance. In terms of receiving, your leader was TJ Hawkinson with 89 yards. So he's proven that he's got something. Kerryon Johnson, he had 52 yards, followed by Marvin Jones with 48. And the only one to have a touchdown was your pickup, Mohamed Sanu, as he had 32 yards and a touchdown. Defense, where the fuck was it? You guys, you did well against the rush, but got absolutely burned by Deshaun Watson. But no problem there, because it's Watson. Anyways, and then the Bears. Remember when they were 5-1? Yeah, I don't remember that. I knew that they were frauds. I knew that there was way too many questions behind it, and I was right. Mitch Trubisky at quarterback, he was absolutely terrible. Threw for 242 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 picks. Most of those good stats did come in garbage time, so it means nothing. David Montgomery broke out as he had 103 yards in rushing. In terms of receiving, your leader was Allen Robinson as he had 74 yards and 2 touchdowns. David Montgomery followed up with 40 yards and a touchdown. Darrell Mooney had 34 yards and Jimmy Graham had 32 yards, and that's pretty much it. Your defense just picked apart by Aaron Rodgers, but no real problems there because it's Aaron Rodgers. But I did expect a little bit more out of this defense, and it just wasn't there. But anyways, the Bears are favored to win this one by 3, but here's the trend this year. Whenever a coach gets fired for a certain team this year, that team would just instantly get better. It happened with the Texans. They've been hot. It's happened with the Falcons. And it's going to happen with the Lions. Lions are going to win this game. And now you have our very next match between the Indianapolis Colts and the Houston Texans. Starting out with the Colts. Man, what was that against Tennessee? Where were you? Like, you got absolutely blasted. But anyways, Phillip Rivers, he threw for 295 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Not exactly his best performance. Lead rusher was Naheem Hines with 29 yards, followed by Jordan Wilkins with 22. Jacoby Brissett, he's kind of been brought in to be like that Taysom Hill kind of guy, like the quarterback who, like the mobile quarterback who just goes in for the touchdown. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. In terms of receiving, your leader was T.Y. Hilton as he had 81 yards and a touchdown, followed by Hines as he had 66 yards, and Trey Burton with 42 yards and a touchdown. So, overall, okay showing on offense. The defense just was non-existent. I thought you guys were a strong unit. Well, where were you? Got completely burned by A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry. And then the Texans, you've been getting hot at the right time. You beat the Lions on Thanksgiving, but a lot of teams do. Anyways, Deshaun Watson still proving he's one of the best in the league. Definitely, I'd say he's top 5 right now. But anyways, he threw for 318 yards, 4 touchdowns, and no picks. Rushing game, Duke Johnson, he ran for 37 yards, followed by Deshaun Watson with 24 yards. So the rushing game was meh. But your lead receiver was Will Fuller with 171 yards and 2 touchdowns. But, of course, earlier in the season, doctor prescribed him the wrong medication, and it was PEDs, and Will Fuller has been suspended for 6 games. So he's not coming back this season unless somehow the Texans make the playoffs. I don't think he's coming back. But anyways, Brandon Cooks, he had 85 yards and no touchdowns, but only other receiving touchdown was from Duke Johnson and CJ Prozize. But anyways, the defense did a pretty good job against the Lions, especially including you got a J.J. Watt pick 6, so that's pretty good. But anyways, the Colts, they're favored to win this one by 3, but you know what? I'm going to say that the Texans pull off the upset here. And now you have our very next match between the Las Vegas Raiders and the New York Jets. I'm just going to say it. Raiders are going to win, but I'll get into it. But anyways, Raiders, where were you against the Falcons? Derek Carr, absolutely terrible. He threw for 215 yards, no touchdowns, and 1 pick, and he also fumbled it 3 times and lost it 3 times. But Josh Jacobs, non-existent. He ran for 27 yards, and he also fumbled, so the offense was just not there. Lead receiver was Hunter Renfrow, as he had 73 yards, followed by Henry Ruggs with 56, Nelson Aguilar with 54. I'm surprised you guys didn't show up and destroy them because, you know, they're a pretty weak defense, so I was just expecting way more out of you. Like, it was so bad, they benched you for Nathan Peterman. And your defense, well, a lot of times Falcons were working with a short field, so I was going to be expecting your defense not to be there. And then the Jets against the Dolphins, more of the same happened. Darnold, he came back, threw for 197 yards, no touchdowns and 2 picks. He's a problem in New York, but he's not the main problem. The main problem is still, as always, Adam Gase. Frank Gore, he ran for 74 yards. That was pretty much it in terms of rushing. Lead receiver, Brashard Perriman was the leader with 79 yards, followed by Denzel Mims with 67 and Jamison Crowder with 31 yards. Not much else I could say. Your defense was just non-existent as the Dolphins just ran all over you. Like, there's really nothing I could say about that. I mean, yeah, you did force 2 fumbles, but that's it. Nothing else. But anyways, the Raiders, they're favored to win this one by 8, and I'm just going to say, yeah, they win and cover the spread. And now you have our very next matchup. Last year, this was basically the matchup to see who was going to get the first overall pick, but this time it's between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Miami Dolphins. God damn it, we're not even going to get, like, Tua versus Burrow. We're getting Allen versus Fitzpatrick, so it's going to suck. Anyways, the Bengals against the Giants, it wasn't that great. Brandon Allen, he threw for 136 yards, 1 touchdown, and a pick. Just, he was not at his top performance, but that's what I expected out of you. Giovanni Bernard led in rushing with 32 yards, and that was pretty much it. Like, nothing really. T. Higgins, he led with 44 yards and a touchdown, so he's like the only competent receiver, at least consistently, because like Tyler Boyd's just a little inconsistent, and that's pretty much it. Nothing else I could say. The only highlight of the game was Wilson, who ran for 103 yards and a touchdown. It was a good return, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Your defense wasn't that great against the Giants. They were just able to squeak out a victory. And then the Dolphins against the Jets, it was just a predictable outcome. Ryan Fitzpatrick, he threw for 257 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Am I happy that you won? No, it's the Dolphins. It's the Jets, I mean. Forget that. Anyways, lead receiver was Devontae Parker with 119 yards, no touchdowns, followed by Mike Gesicki as he had 35 yards and a touchdown, followed by Holland, Smythe, Breida, and Grant. They all basically had 19 yards. The defense stopping the Jets. It's the Jets. Not that impressed that you stopped them. But anyways, the Dolphins, they are favored to win this one by 10.5. Yikes, that is a large margin. I'm going to say that they win and cover the spread. You know, they're fighting for the playoffs. I think they can make it. Win and cover the spread. And now you have our very next match between the Cleveland Browns and the Tennessee Titans. Starting off with the Browns, you barely squeaked out a victory over Jacksonville. They were starting Mike Glennon. You can't be doing that. Anyways, Baker Mayfield, he threw for 258 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Was all right, you know, but this is really going to be the big game for him to see if he's really the option that you guys want. But in terms of rushing, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt were lethal, combined for 200 rushing yards and a touchdown. Jarvis Landry finally broke out with 8 receptions for 143 yards and a touchdown, followed by Chubb with 32 yards and Carterell Hodge with 31. So that's pretty much it. Your defense, like I said, it struggled. You barely pulled out a victory over the Jaguars, so you guys are a little sus right now. And then the Titans, you guys took a matchup against the Colts and just ran away with that one. As Tannehill, he had 221 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. He really wasn't the guy. It was all Derrick Henry. Ran for 178 yards, 3 touchdowns. And A.J. Brown did it all with 98 yards and a touchdown, including an onside kick return. So that's super hard to get, and he did that. But anyways, other receivers were Corey Davis. He had 70 yards. Jeff Swaim with 30 yards. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Got nothing else to say. The defense was strong, forced the Colts to only score 26 points. You guys just completely suffocated them. It was a good victory overall. But anyways, the Titans, they're favored to win this one by 4.5, and I'm going to say that they win and cover the spread. And now you have our final 1 o'clock matchup between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Minnesota Vikings. Starting off with the Jaguars. God damn, you almost did it. You almost beat the Browns. You almost could have been 2-9, but you're 1-10. Anyways, Mike Glennon was not bad. Threw for 235 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. James Robinson's still proven that he is a top running back, even though the narrative is running backs are replaceable. He ran for 128 yards and a touchdown. Colin Johnson was your lead receiver with 96 yards and a touchdown, followed by Keelan Cole Sr. I've been botching that all year. Had 44 yards, followed by Chenault Jr. with 31 and James Robinson with 31. So offense was not too bad. The defense, you know, you did what you could, but overall you fell apart to the Browns rushing game. I can't really rip you apart for that because like no one can stop the Browns run game except the Saints and maybe the Bucs. Maybe even the Steelers. Yeah, the Steelers. So there's a couple of teams that can really stop that 1-2 punch, but not many can. And then on to the Vikings. Man, people are saying Kirk Cousins is overrated. Y'all going to want to check yourselves. He just was amazing. Pulled out a last-second victory. Was super clutch. There for 307 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Dalvin Cook really was not feasting. He only had 61 yards, so, you know, they neutralized him, but you still pull out a victory. Bissy Johnson, he led with 74 receiving yards, but the big man was Justin Jefferson with 70 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns, followed by Kyle Rudolph with 68 yards, and Chad Bebe in his first game, his game-winning touchdown was his first career touchdown, so a good way to end it. You know, you guys did have 3 fumbles, so that's like the main thing I'll knock you on. But in terms of your defense, you had some trouble, but in the end, you pulled out in the clutch. But anyways, the Vikings are favored to win this one by 10, but you know what? I'm going to say upset of the week goes to the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're going to pull out the victory. And now you have our very first 4 o'clock match between the Seattle Seahawks and the New York Giants. Starting out with the Giants, oh boy, you beat a Burrow-less Bengals squad. Anyways, Daniel Jones, he threw for 213 yards, no touchdowns and a picks, and he is currently injured. So who you bring in? It's Colt McCoy. God damn, who remembers who he is? Anyways, but, you know, in terms of rushing, your lead rusher, it was Wayne Gallum. He ran for 94 yards and a touchdown, followed by Daniel Jones with 19 yards. So outside of Wayne Gallum, the rushing game was pretty much nothing. But in terms of receiving, Evan Ingram broke out with 129 receiving yards, followed by Sterling Shepard with 64, Golden Tate with 36, and that was pretty much it. Like I said, you beat, your defense did well. It was a Burrow-less Bengals squad, so what? You beat them. And then the Seahawks, your defense has slowly but surely been getting better. And it's something that you want, because when come playoff time, if your defense goes the way it was at the beginning of the season, you're fucked. But anyways, Russell Wilson, he threw for 230 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. In terms of rushing, Chris Carson, in his return, he ran for 41 yards and a touchdown. On terms of receiving, DK Metcalf took it personally that the Eagles back in 2019 drafted J.J. Arcega-Whiteside over him as he had 177 yards. Now, people are saying he's Megatron. I would say hold off on the Megatron comparisons. He's pretty damn good, but not quite at Megatron yet. But like I said, still very good. Tyler Lockett, he had 23 yards, followed by Chris Carson with 18, so that was pretty much it. No one else really did a thing in the receiving game. The defense was pretty good. I mean, it was Carson Wentz. He has not had a good season, but you also did give up a Hail Mary, so that's a little bit concerning. But anyways, Seahawks, they're favored to win this one by about 10 points, and I'm going to say that favored by 11. I'm going to say that they win and cover the spread. And now you have our very next match between the Arizona Cardinals and the LA Rams. Anyways, so starting out with the Cardinals against the Patriots, I don't know what the hell that game was. Kyler Murray, he threw for 170 yards, no touchdowns and a pick, was just absolutely terrible. But so was the whole team, except Kenyon Drake. He had a pretty good game as he had 78 yards and 2 touchdowns, followed by Kyler Murray with 31 yards. Receiving, the big man, of course, was still DeAndre Hopkins, but he only put up 55 yards. Andy Isabella put up 33, so honestly, not that great of a game. Your defense was okay, picked off Cam Newton twice, but in the end, the Patriots were able to pull out clutch as the big factor at the end was a missed Zane Gonzalez field goal. And then the Rams, damn it, if I was thinking Jared Goff was good, the good part in LA, I was wrong. He threw for 198 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks, and lost a fumble against a banged-up 49ers squad. So that doesn't look good. Lead rusher was Cam Akers with 84 yards and a touchdown. On terms of receiving, your leader was Robert Woods as he had 80 yards, followed by Cooper Kupp with 41 yards, Josh Reynolds with 40. Ultimately, it was a very close game, but of course, the 49ers were the ones that prevailed, as your defense just completely fell apart to Deebo Samuel. But I'm not going to say that's too bad, because Deebo Samuel, he's pretty good. I think he's one of the more underrated guys in the league, but yeah. Anyways, the Rams are favored to win this one by 3, but I'm just going to say that the Cardinals pull off the upset. And now you have our very next match between the Green Bay Packers and the Philadelphia Eagles. Starting off with the Packers against the Bears, I was expecting you to pull out a big victory. Actually, I think last week I said you wouldn't cover the spread, but actually, no, I said you did, because you're facing Trubisky, and that showed. Aaron Rodgers, he threw for 211 yards, 4 touchdowns, and no picks, so clearly he was cooking. But in terms of rushing, your lead rusher was Aaron Jones, as he had 90 yards, followed by Jamal Williams, who had 73 yards and a touchdown. Robert Tonyan was your lead receiver with 67 yards and a touchdown, but Devontae Adams was right behind him with 61 yards and a touchdown. But in terms of your defense, you had a little bit of trouble. Like, you gave up over 350 yards of offense, but in the end, those 3 turnovers that you forced from Trubisky are gonna help you pull out the victory. Then the Eagles, man, Carson Wentz just is not what he once was. Now, is he the problem in Philly? Yes and no. Like, he is not that good, but he doesn't have that great of a squad around him. No O-line, absolutely crappy receivers. Doug Peterson's play calling has definitely regressed a significant amount. He threw for 215 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Not that great. He ran for 42 yards. He was the lead rusher. But in terms of receiving, the leaders were your 2 tight ends. Dallas Goedert with 75 yards and a touchdown, and Richard Rodgers with 53 yards and a touchdown. And he, of course, caught the Hail Mary. He's the GOAT of Hail Marys, because don't forget, he caught Aaron Rodgers' first Hail Mary against the Lions. But anyways, Boston Scott, he had 40 receiving yards. That was pretty much it. Your defense just got completely exposed by DK Metcalf, so yeah. Not much else I could say. Anyways, the Packers are favored to win this one by 8. I'm going to say that they win and cover the spread. And now you have our final 4 o'clock matchup between the New England Patriots and the LA Chargers. Starting out with the Patriots, man, that was just a tough game. You guys barely pulled out a victory. Cam Newton was terrible. He had 84 passing yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks. The only clutch thing that he had was in the 4th quarter, as he basically carried you in terms of his rushing. But anyways, lead rusher was Damian Harris with 47 yards, followed by Cam Newton with 46. James White with 18 yards and 2 touchdowns. In terms of receiving, Jacoby Myers was your leader with 52 yards, followed by Darrell Byrd with 33. Your defense, you forced 1 turnover, was able to neutralize the air raid of the Arizona Cardinals. So overall, not bad. Wasn't terrible, wasn't amazing either. it was more on the bad side. But anyways, then the Chargers. God damn you guys. Like, let's see. Starting off, Justin Herbert, he threw for 316 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Austin Eckler, he came back. He had 44 rushing yards, but he followed it up with 85 receiving yards. So that was pretty good. Kelly was the only other rusher. He had 35 yards and a touchdown. In terms of receiving, you also had Hunter Henry with 67 yards, Tyler Johnson with 63, and Keenan Allen with 40 yards and a touchdown. Your defense had a lot of trouble with the Bills. Yeah, sure, you forced a couple of big turnovers, but the one thing that killed you in the end was Anthony Lynn. His clock management was absolutely terrible. I would not be surprised if I see him getting fired by the end of the season. He has to go. He is the problem in LA. Anyways, but the Chargers are favored to win this one only by 1, so I'm just going to say that they win and cover the spread. And now you have our Sunday Night Football matchup between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Denver Broncos. Starting out with the Broncos, you were quarterbackless. No Drew Lock, no Brett Rippon, no Jeff Driscoll, no Blake Bortles, so you got Kendall Hinton, who threw for 13 yards and 2 picks. Can't really blame him because it was just a terrible, terrible situation they was thrown in. The rushing game was pretty good. Royce Freeman had 50 yards. Melvin Gordon had 31. Philip Lindsay had 20, and that was pretty much it. In terms of receiving, you only had one receiver, Noah Fant, with 13 yards. Your defense fell apart to the Saints, fell apart to their rush game, but it's the Saints' rush. You're not really going to stop that. And then the Chiefs, man, against the Bucs, it was close, but you pulled out the victory. Patrick Mahomes threw for 462 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Clyde Edwards-Helaire ran for 37 yards, but the big man was Tyreek Hill. He had 11 receptions, 269 yards, and 3 touchdowns. That puts him 14th all-time in receiving yards in a game. So that's pretty good. That's amazing. Travis Kelce had 82 yards, followed by Sammy Watkins with 38, and that was pretty much it. The defense had a great start against the Buccaneers, kind of slowed down a little bit, but was able to finish them off as, big victory was had. It was a statement victory, and pushed you to 10-1. Anyways, the Chiefs are favored to win this one by 13.5. I'm going to say that they win and cover the spread. And now you have our first Monday Night Football matchup between the Washington Football Team and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Starting out with the football team against the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. You won. I'm not that shocked, but you won. Anyways, Alex Smith threw for 149 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, so he was meh. But Antonio Gibson was the man with 115 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. In terms of receiving, Terry McLaurin was the leader with 92 yards, followed by J.D. McKissick with 21, and Antonio Gibson with 21, and the only one to have a receiving touchdown was Logan Thomas. So overall, a pretty good game you guys played. In terms of defense, you shut down the Cowboys. I mean, they had some horrific play calling, though, and Ezekiel Elliott lost fumble. So, yeah, good victory overall. And then the Steelers, this game was just so sloppy. Roethlisberger threw for 266 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Benny Snell Jr. ran for 60 yards. In terms of receiving, your leader was Eric Ebron with 54 yards, followed by Chase Claypool with 52, Deontay Johnson with 46, and Juju Smith-Schuster with 37 and a touchdown. But a big theme was that you guys were just dropping passes from the left and to the right. And against the Ravens, you shut them down for a while, but then Trace McSorley came in, threw a touchdown, but then you just shut the game down. So good job. I mean, you won, and, that's that. Anyways, but the Steelers are favored to win this one by 7. I'm going to say that they win, but don't cover the spread. And now you have our very next Monday Night Football matchup between the Buffalo Bills and the San Francisco 49ers. Going to be played in Arizona because San Francisco Santa Clara County, where the 49ers play, their new COVID rules restrict athlete traveling, so they have to play in Arizona. Anyways, but against the Rams, damn, you pulled out an impressive victory. Nick Mullins threw for 252 yards, no touchdown, and a pick. In terms of rushing, your leader was Raheem Mostert with 43 yards and a touchdown, followed by Jeff Wilson Jr. with 40 yards. So, good game overall, but the man to come back was Deebo Samuel. 11 receptions, 133 yards, just completely carried you guys to a victory. Kendrick Bourne, he followed up with 34 yards, followed by Richie James with 29 yards. That was pretty much it. Your defense forced 4 turnovers. So, Kyle Shanahan, he's doing well considering everyone is out. So, got to give a lot of credit to him. Then the Bills against the Chargers. It was a good game for you guys, but the fourth quarter was absolutely abysmal. Josh Allen threw for 157 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. So he was pretty good. But Cole Beasley, he had 20 passing yards and a touchdown. In terms of rushing, your leader was Devin Singletary with 82 yards, followed by Greg Davis with 79 yards and a touchdown. Actually, in terms of receiving. Then Stephon Diggs had 39 yards, followed by Cole Beasley with 25. So ultimately, you guys were just turning the ball. You turned the ball over 3 times in the final quarter, so that's got to change. But anyways, you still pull out the victory. But the Bills, actually no, 49ers are favored to win this one by 1, but I'm going to give this one to the Buffalo Bills. And now you have our Tuesday Night Football matchup between the Dallas Cowboys and the Baltimore Ravens. Starting out with the Cowboys, man, Thanksgiving, you got your ass kicked. Andy Dalton, 215 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. What we expected, trash. Ezekiel Elliott, he ran for 32 yards and he fumbled once and he lost it. So, man, Zeke isn't what he was like last couple of years, but I think he could rebound pretty soon. But anyways, in terms of receiving, your leader once again was Amari Cooper. He broke out with 112 yards and a touchdown, followed by Michael Gallup with 41 yards. Dalton Schultz had 24, and yeah, that was pretty much it. The receiving game was pretty good. Nothing that special. The defense was terrible, allowed Antonio Gibson to run all over you. And what the hell was that fake punt call? It was just like a reverse sweep on a fake punt. Like, it's high risk, but not much of a reward, unless you can get lucky and have the defense take a holding penalty. But anyways, terrible game you guys played. And then the Ravens, I mean, you guys had COVID everywhere. Robert Griffin III got the start. He threw for 33 yards and a pick. He also ran for 68 yards. And so, yeah, he wasn't good. Lead receiver was Marquise Brown with 85 yards and a touchdown. But don't be fooled, if you didn't include his last catch, he would have only had 15 yards. But he was able to help Trace McSorley get his first career touchdown, which was nice. And I forgot, McSorley, he came in to replace Griffin. He went 2 for 6, 77 yards and a touchdown. It was good enough. Duvernay was your other receiver with 20 yards, and then Hill had 5 yards. So, yeah. The defense was okay. I mean, this was a terrible, terrible, sloppy matchup. But your defense just was not as good as the Steelers' defense. And that was ultimately the difference maker. But anyways, currently there is no favorite to win this game, so I'm just going to give this one to the Baltimore Ravens. And that is going to wrap up my video for today. Thank you guys all so much for watching. If you want to see all my other prediction videos and all my other Saints recaps, links to that will be in the description below. If you want to check out my podcast, a link to that is also in the description below. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel, comment down below who you have as your upset of the week, your lock of the week, and all that. Make sure to follow me on Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok @SodaSavage. Thank y'all for watching. Who Dat Nation is